Thank you so much for joining today in the My Kingdom is Not of This World. I'm happy that you're here and that we can continue with this series. And today we have the tape, The Dedicated Consciousness of Joel. And this tape is like remarkable in the sense, like we will use a lot of it in this meeting. And so we use part of it for the meditation and another part we're listening to it. But basically there's a discovery to be made that is profound. So it was a delight for me to prepare this and to listen to Joel today and see what happens in the recording. And there's a lot happening. So there's like this talk is from 1964, and that's the year that Joel so-called passed. Now, this is the great thing. It's like the beauty of that what is shared, like the consciousness, the purity and the innocence of the consciousness of Joel shines through in everything. So that's why this is so wonderful to be able to listen to Joel and actually receive that message. And that message is universal. That message is the light that is shining through, just as well through you as through Joel. So Joel shows us today where is the access to infinity? Where can you find that access to infinity? And we know it's like, okay, we have to turn within for that to happen. But then Joel brings it in such a way that you actually are going to discover something new. So he basically takes care of all the things that what it is not. Like, no, it's not there. No, it's not there. It's not this. No, it's not. Like your dedication is in consciousness. It's not in any other form. It is not in a form. And so that's very, like, there's a beautiful impartation waiting for you when you dive into this. So I don't want to let you wait for that, but let's go immediately to, for instance, the meditation. And like it's a contemplation of 4 minutes, and I will play it and we will be still. I'll play it again and we will be still again, because this is so profound that if you would say receive what Joel shares here, we're just like just made a huge step in consciousness, so to speak. So there's a great gift waiting for you. I'm going to share that with you right now.
You close your eyes and notice this blackness in which you find yourself, this darkness. And remember that this very place where you are now is your means of access to infinity. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Now there's no way to seek the consciousness and no place to seek the kingdom of God except within you. Because it's not to be found in holy mountains. It's not to be found in holy temples. It's not to be found in holy books. This kingdom is to be found within you. It's not in your heart. It's not in your spinal cord. It's not in the bones. It's not in the brain. It's within you. And now here we are. The eyes are closed. We're in this place of darkness. And yet this very place is our access to the kingdom of God, to that spiritual realm, to infinity. And our acknowledgement of this places us here, and you can almost feel your ears open as you are ready for an impartation to come in. It comes in, but it doesn't come from without. It comes in from within. And it doesn't come from anyone to you. It comes from the self of you to you. It comes from the center of you to the circumference of you. It comes from the depth of you to the surface of you. And you bring it about by your turning within and realizing, now here, through this inner consciousness, I have access to the kingdom of God, to infinity. And the very moment of that acknowledgement, you have obeyed Scripture. I stand at the door and knock. And now you have obeyed. You have opened your consciousness that I may enter. I is your divine self, the spiritual son of you, the spiritual self of you, the divine self of you, the infinite consciousness which you really are. You have opened yourself to that. You, in your humanhood, have opened yourself to your divinity. Because remember, there are two of you. There is the man of earth, described by Paul, and that man who has his being in Christ. There is two of you. And at this moment, it is the man of earth who wishes to die daily in order to be reborn of the Spirit. And it is this man who wishes to die who's now turning within and virtually saying, God, kill me. Destroy my humanhood. Destroy the limited sense of myself that I'm now entertaining. Destroy finiteness in me. Destroy that combination of good and evil in me. And consecrate me to yourself. In other words, give me that purity which I had with thee in the beginning. Now, we are not dedicating this building. We are dedicating ourselves. And we are dedicating ourselves to this divine influence, that it may enter, permeate our consciousness, and govern us. And then we discover a most wonderful thing. When we have attained the experience, the actual experience of meditation in which that spirit enters, from then on, that spirit permeates mind and body and begins the purification process that eventually prevents us from ever thinking of robbing someone else or benefiting ourselves at someone else's expense or doing unto others something that we would not have done unto ourselves. It's no longer a virtue with us. It's no longer a righteousness with us. It is now that we have given up ourselves, we have given up our minds and bodies to this fourth dimensional consciousness, this divine self, and it begins to function through us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining in the contemplation. So this was the alignment that I love to offer through the voice of Joel, and the alignment is a true alignment in the access for infinite consciousness is within you. It's like you're exactly in the right place, right here, right now. It's like, how else are you going to be a light of the world? Like, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen somewhere else. No, in this moment is the fulfillment of all of it. Like here, we're practicing the presence. The presence of God is all there is. There is nothing else. Now, in order to experience this to its fullness, we practice this with meditation. Why is meditation that helpful? Because you don't look for substitutes for what is given in this instant. So that takes away the fear of what's going to happen tomorrow, or regrets about what's happening yesterday, what happened yesterday. So this is so great, and I love this this part of the talk, because it is a very deep and beautiful say alignment that Joel brings in. So he's talking in the beginning of the talk about purification. Well, this is that purification. The purification is not because you're dirty or anything. The purification that is taking place is literally releasing everything else, releasing the past, the future, and releasing every substitute that you have sought to cover up, in fact, this moment. Now, in the talk that we're going to listen to, Joel emphasizes a lot. I am knocking on the door of your consciousness, like the Christ is knocking on the door of your consciousness. Now, it's up to you to open up for entrance of the Christ consciousness within you. So this is something that we have to practice, and that you have to know, where is this taking place. You don't have to go to holy temples, holy mountains. No. It's happening here within you, in all simplicity, in all directness, in all strength and beauty. It's happening within you. It's like, how brilliant is that? That is exactly placed within you. It's coming from within into your withinness. Like, in other words, you can't lose it. It is always there. You can count on it. It's your security. It's your safety. It is always with you. Now it's just up to you to open your consciousness to have a direct experience of it. So Joel says that really beautiful. I was surprised by this tape in a very pleasant way, and that had more facets of it too. Because here, in the second part of the talk that we're going to listen to, Joel reveals something to you that you can receive, and that has everything to do with consciousness, the nature of consciousness. And like I said, he tells you what it is not, what you're looking for. No, there it is not. But there's a different way of looking at the idea of consciousness that will, say, make it easier for you to receive all this. That's what I love so much about this tape. The dedication of consciousness. Now that's a very interesting idea, because we're talking about the dedicated consciousness. Now you can dedicate your consciousness to everything, and that's exactly what you do, of course. That is what is occurring. Your consciousness is always dedicated to something. But I'll come back to that. You close your eyes. This is from the meditation still. You close your eyes and notice this blackness in which you find yourself. Like you close your eyes and everything is dark. But this darkness, remember that this very place where you are now is your means of access to infinity. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Now you see here the blackness is something that we referred to last week too, and like the cloud of unknowing. It is the via negativa. It's like that you go into the darkness, and there's the change going to occur. Like by your by your inner desire. So you step into the darkness, but your inner desire, your longing for God, literally changes everything. And that only has to be for a moment total, in fact, in order to come to an experience of the direct communication with God. But first, like in meditation, you step into this darkness. Now, you might be very familiar with that because you have experiences with meditation. Now here we are. So you go through something. You can have ideas about it. You let those pass. And you can have your emotions. You feel those, but you don't do anything with them. Then you enter into a deeper state within yourself, where something can occur, where you suddenly experience yourself as more, expanded, you could say. And then something can happen. So, and that's something that can happen I cannot talk of, because it's your individual experience. And this is happening to no one else but you. So there's no description of it yet. It doesn't need to be described, but it's your individual experience. So it's always individual consciousness that Joel is referring to, where the direct communication with God can happen. It can only happen in your consciousness. It does not depend on anyone else. So all this, it's not in mountains, not in a place, not in a body, not in a heart, not in a backbone, not in the brain, not anywhere else, but in you, in your withinness. Like exactly there, in your withinness, that's where it takes place. And that's where it happens. And what happens? Your recognition of the truth of who you are. Your recognition of, here's the light that shines right through me. That in fact, it's my gateway to recognize my oneness with all and everyone. That's why Joel says, well, when you go through this, you have no need any longer to attack or defend. You're in fact done with the polarities or the opposites that you have been dealing with as a human being. Now you have access now to infinity, and that reconfigures your body, that reconfigures your whole life situation. Like that literally changes everything. And you get, in a certain sense, you get time to adjust to that, to integrate that into your experience of consciousness. Okay, so that sounds like almost like a conceptual, technical talk about consciousness, but that's not what is being shared here. So we use words. That's for one thing, but basically, an experience is offered on a step-by-step way. So here's two more expressions actually that I share with you. And this is related to what I was sharing. Now bear in mind that our subject is dedication. That is our purpose in uniting here, dedication. But let us remember that we cannot dedicate this building, nor can we dedicate any people. That the dedication must be the dedication of our consciousness. Now this I wanted to get back to you about. Why is that? Oops. See, I'll read it one more time. Now bear in mind always that our consciousness is dedication. That is our purpose in uniting here. Dedication. We are dedicated to remember truth within our own consciousness. That's why we're here. But let us remember that we cannot dedicate this building, nor can we dedicate any people. That the dedication must be the dedication of our consciousness. Now the dedication of our consciousness, I wanted to say something about that, because it seems like, how is that possible to focus or to dedicate your consciousness to something? Like it is abstract. It is not, you cannot hold it, you cannot grab it. It doesn't have a position. It's non-locatable. We saw this in this Secrets of Consciousness. It's a non-locatable consciousness. You cannot grab it. It doesn't have a location. Now, how can you dedicate it? So that's why I want to mention it. So the interesting part here is then the dedication is really in the undoing of what seems to be a disruption of this dedicated consciousness. Like if your consciousness is pure, it is dedicated to one and only, the one and only God. To love it with all of your heart, but that seems like an activity, so that's also directed. So it's like recognizing that you're one with all of that is basically the experience that is being offered. Now you dedicate your consciousness to that, not to something else. So this is what I mean. All the other things that you can dedicate your consciousness to, you will not do. You let go of that. So in that sense, it is an undoing. In order to open your consciousness for what is already there. If your consciousness is cluttered up with all kinds of desires and things and concerns and habits and you name it, all the stuff that is basically, when you sit still, you recognize that it's there. All that needs to go. All that relationship to time and space, all this relationship to what is finite needs to go. This whole character, where Joel says, like, there's two of you. There's one that is wanting to get rid of this, that wants to die in its humanhood, and there's the true Christ within you. Well, basically, there's only one. There is not this character that tries to hold on to time and space, because that is finite, and that has nothing to do with reality. So here's the paradox or the dilemma that you find yourself in the middle of. Probably. And that's why we're here. So we recognize in the moments that we're together that we have a dedicated consciousness, dedicated to one thing only. And that's literally to come to know the truth of you, to not seek it, but come to know it. Literally allowing that to be in our consciousness, to let it take over, to melt into it, to release all the rest that I was so occupied with a moment ago, but now I recognize I don't need it. I don't want to clutter up my consciousness with all that is temporal. For this moment, I dedicate my consciousness to eternity, to infinity. So that is stepping into the darkness. Basically, having one single desire for the Father, to love God with all of your heart, with all of your mind, and all of your soul, all of your spirit, like totally dedicated, for one moment, completely, totally dedicated to truth. That's all that's asked, really. And you see this in the talk too that we're going to listen to. So one more point that I like to share is this. Like, now it seems like an incredible responsibility on your part, which is, sure it is, but don't forget this. Like, your dedication to truth has enormous support. I would trust the support. So your dedication is wonderful too, but I would trust the support that's given you in wanting this, in desiring this one single goal for yourself. You have great support. Literally, the whole universe is supporting you to make this happen. So you can rely on that support. It is not that you as this egoic mind or this temporal figure is trying to do this all, trying to get yourself out of temporalness. No, it's really impossible. You've tried and it didn't work. You've tried to get out of it. It didn't work. So here's like your willingness to let that happen is sufficient. It has great support, incredible support. That's why you will be successful in experiencing something different, in experiencing the totality of God. So this is how loving God is. It's so loving that he allows you, you could say, to walk away from him, to deny him completely, recognizing that there's such thing as disease, disaster, death, and limitation. He lets you do that. He's not saying like, no, you're not allowed to do that. No, he lets you. It's your free will to do that. That's how much he loves you. Now you turn around and say like, I want none of this any longer. I want to go home. I want to be back where I truly belong. I want to come back to the purity of my consciousness as it was in the beginning. This is literally what Joel is saying in a moment. Like you are being brought back to the beginning, where your love for God was total and pure. There was no disruption of it. Now this is why there's so much support. Like your function to come here in time and space, in a temporal setup for a moment, was only to recognize, I don't belong here. This is not where I'm from. My kingdom is not of this world. Now I turn around. I ask God to help me out here. I ask the whole universe to help me, to dedicate, to support my willingness for this dedication to truth. And of course it's going to be given. Of course that can be successful. So this is what I mean. It's like it's a mechanism of love, but love doesn't know of mechanisms. It only recognizes itself. It doesn't know anything else. So there's no regrets. There's no judgment. There's nothing like that going on. And in other words, what we're talking about here is an expression of love on a vast scale that literally brings you home when you realize what love it is that brought you here, that gave you access to infinity within you, like completely, totally, without any concern about whatever seemed to be happening before. No. So this is where you're dealing with. Now here's the invitation, and Joel will say this too, but it is like, now let yourself be penetrated by that light. Let your consciousness be penetrated by this light. Release those ideas about temporalness for just a moment. Experience the support that you receive in this endeavor that you're in. Like, it's incredible what is given. Now this is the day that you're going to accept that for yourself. Why not? My kingdom is not of this world. The access to infinity is within me. It's given me. Everything is pointing at that. Today is the day. Now this is what Joel will be sharing with us in the talk that we're going to listen to.
And we are dedicating ourselves to this divine influence, that it may enter, permeate our consciousness and govern us, and then we discover a most wonderful thing. When we have attained the experience, the actual experience of meditation in which that spirit enters, from then on, that spirit permeates mind and body and begins the purification process that eventually prevents us from ever thinking of robbing someone else or benefiting ourselves at someone else's expense or doing unto others something that we would not have done unto ourselves. It's no longer a virtue with us. It's no longer a righteousness with us. It is now that we have given up ourselves, we have given up our minds and bodies to this fourth dimensional consciousness, this divine self, and it begins to function through us. Now you will discover that once our consciousness has been dedicated, once we have turned over mind and body to the government of our spiritual self, we have in that moment dedicated this building, but we have also dedicated our marriage. We have also dedicated our home. We have also dedicated our business or art or profession. But there is no other way to do it, because this edifice will never be any more sacred or holy than the consciousness of those who function here. It is the consciousness of the individual that functions as the integrity of the work. In the same way, you can't expect your business to be honorable because it has no qualities. You can't expect your art or your profession to be honorable or even to have ability or skill. Oh no, it is your consciousness that is imbued with the Spirit, and then this consciousness flows out into your business life, your professional life, your art life, just as the musician who develops a musical consciousness finds that he has the skill in his fingers. But he can't develop skill in his fingers separate and apart from a musical consciousness. Nor can an artist or a sculptor develop skill in his fingers. The skill must be in consciousness, and then the hands and the feet, the whole body, play their part in that. In other words, the only way to dedicate your body or your mind to an achievement is to first be dedicated up here in consciousness. Then this takes over and governs mind, body, business, building, edifice. And we discover that no weapon that is formed against thee can prosper. Why? Because no weapon that is formed against God can prosper. And God has now become the activity of your individual consciousness. You will find this: an artist cannot rise higher than his artistic consciousness. A musician cannot rise higher than his musical consciousness. The minister, the priest, the rabbi can never rise higher than their developed spiritual consciousness. The metaphysical healer can never rise higher than his healing consciousness. And it is for this reason that you could go to the master and probably expect an instantaneous healing, and if you went to his disciples, they probably had to pray 2 or 3 times to bring out the same healing. Today you could go to one practitioner or teacher and find healing rapidly, instantaneously sometimes, and with another practitioner it might drag out for months and months and months. Why? Because no demonstration can rise higher than the consciousness of the individual. And when the individual dedicates his consciousness to the service of God, then that is the measure of talent that flows through. So that even if we knew of no particular talent, we would soon discover that one was born in us. Well, it wasn't born, it was always there. It has just evolved through this receptivity to the spiritual source of our being. The key to all of this is actually God, infinity, is the consciousness of the individual. In proportion as we become aware of that, it takes over and manifests in greater and greater degree. Therefore, there is less and less of the human or the finite about us, more and more of the spiritual or the divine. Now, it doesn't mean, you must remember, that this divinity must always take shape in a spiritual activity of life. I mean, in being a minister or a practitioner or a teacher. Not at all. The divinity that takes over consciousness can operate just as well in the industrial world, in the artistic world, in the financial world, in the academic world, because the Spirit is infinite and the Spirit functions in infinite form and variety. It is for this reason that sometimes we hear industry spoken of as if it was some kind of a wicked enterprise. It's true that there are some individuals who use industry wickedly, but industry itself is definitely an activity that comes forth from the spiritual consciousness. And one of the functions that it performs ultimately is the support of art and literature and science and music. You take away the financial support of those and you don't have much of those left. Therefore, we must understand the full and complete nature of man as spirit, as mind, as body, soul, mind, body. Then be aware that as we are touched or influenced by the Spirit, that the mind and body will function in any and every direction which can prove to be a blessing to the world. It will put some in a spiritual ministry, but it will take some out of it and put them back in the business world or artistic world or financial world, where in one way or another they can at the moment serve the best purpose. Now, bear in mind always that our subject is dedication. That is our purpose in uniting here, dedication. But let us remember that we cannot dedicate this building, nor can we dedicate any people. That the dedication must be the dedication of our consciousness. Then, as each day we open our consciousness to this inflow, we will find that our activities throughout the day will be dedicated. Dedicated in a way to serve a good purpose. Inasmuch as ye have done it unto the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. And whether you do it by serving in some out-and-out spiritual capacity, whether you do it to lighten the load that people carry in giving them a greater freedom in politics, in economy, in industry, it all works to the same end. In the end, the glory is not man's. The glory is that which sent man forth into expression. Regardless of what we may accomplish on earth, we are not really accomplishing it as if we were somebody great. It is only we can accomplish it as we are letting this supreme power, influence, flow through us. Then we can see why we are really dedicated to God, serving God's purpose in any and every capacity which is given to us on earth. I stress this a great deal because I find far too much of this playing down of somebody's particular walk in life, whatever it may be, when it is equally essential to that of any other walk in life if it is dedicated to the purpose of good, of the serving of man. You will remember that in our work it has been stressed that we are not in this body as we seem to be. Loosely, we would say that you are looking up here at me, or that you are seeing Joel. But that's very loosely said, because it isn't true. You can't see Joel at all. You can see his body here, but you can't see him, because he's back here looking out. And he's not inside the skull bones either. But he is looking through these eyes at you. And you are looking up at me, and I can't see you, because you are incorporeal. You are spiritual. You are consciousness. And the wonderful part of this is that that consciousness which you are is immortal. Someday, for one reason or another, we will all lay down the body. But it's the most wonderful thing to have revealed to you that this does not in any way stop your activity, that you keep right on going on, right on functioning, right on blessing, right on serving, for the simple reason that that which you are, the invisible selfhood that's looking out through your eyes, that is your eternal being. Now, once you perceive this, you will realize that what you have to look forward to is functioning. And then you will understand why it is important that every bit of good that we can add to our consciousness today is a benefit to us tomorrow. Every benefit that we can add to our consciousness this year is a blessing unto us next year. And whatever we store up, and remember, we check our material possessions at the probate court when we go. But the treasures that we have stored up in consciousness, we take with us. And be assured of this, that just as if you were moving to another part of the country, you would rejoice in the ability to take more of integrity, love, fidelity, benevolence, helpfulness with you. You would be regretful if you knew your lack of these and realize that you have to go into a new community and start over and have much to start with. So it is that what we store up in our spiritual storehouse, what we store up of spiritual wisdom, is the measure of light that we carry with us as we walk out of this frame. We know, we have experienced in the days of our complete humanhood that we didn't know it then, but looking back on it, we can see now that we were just the walking dead. We walked and we ate and we slept, but we were dead. There was nothing of life about us, nothing of reality, nothing of that joy of life, freedom of life, peace of life, until the Spirit entered. By this we know that the greater measure of that Spirit that we can attain today brings forth our fruitage in the new year. We have witnessed this, that at the beginning of the year everyone says to us, Happy New Year, and that we know that during the year it isn't going to be much happier than the year before, unless we can do something very different than we did the year before. But we do know this, that if we are storing up in this year something to carry into the next year, that will produce the happy new year or prosperous new year. And what it is that we carry is this: the Spirit. I stand at the door of your consciousness and knock. And I means God. I means the Spirit. I means the Christ. That of which the Master spoke. Not only I am come that you might have life more abundantly, but I will be with you unto the end of the world. And this I of which he speaks, which is divinity, divine selfhood, the soul of you, stands at the door of your consciousness and knocks. Now, in the moment that you learn to close your eyes and realize that through this darkness, corridor, door, you have access to the Spirit, to the kingdom of God, to the gift of God, to the household of God, to the riches of God, to the love of God, to the life of God. God's love, God's life, God's Spirit, God's wholeness. Every time you close your eyes and open yourself to that, your consciousness is being enriched. You can't see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, or smell it. You can't feel it. But as the days go by, you witness the fruitage of it. You witness it in the changed relationships that take place in your life. You take it, you witness it in the changed area of your supply, of your income, of your outgo. You witness it in the changed condition of health. Because it is this spiritual animating influence entering consciousness that absolutely cleanses the mind and the body and then maintains and sustains it in the image and likeness of God. This Spirit. But we have to open the door. We have to consciously admit it. Otherwise, it is out here. This answers the question that is so frequently asked. Why was this innocent dog run over by an automobile? Why was this innocent child destroyed with a disease or an accident? Why was this pure woman stricken down with this horrible disease? Why are these innocent youths sent out to be murdered in war, or wounded, or deprived of their sanity? Now, up until recently, the world has had no answer for this. It now has an answer. And the answer is that the natural man is not under the law of God. The natural man receiveth not the things of God. The human being, as we are born, mind and body, whatever good happens to us is a good break, and it's mostly luck, chance, accident. Even the fact that some of us may be born with ambition or with a talent, the fact that the talent comes to fruition is very often accidental, not always on purpose. There are many people of talent that have never had the prosperity that their talent entitled them to. There are many people deserving of recognition in the world who have never received it. Therefore, a great deal of it is all accidental. But to remove it from the realm of chance and accident, one thing is necessary, and that is to bring ourselves under the law of God, that we may be God-governed. And no one can do that for us. That has to be an act of our own consciousness. And therefore, while others may have a different way, the way shown to me and the way given to me to teach is the way of meditation. And so I've learned, and so I've taught, that starting out with a period of 3 or 4 times a day, it need be only 2, 3, or 4 minutes, and sometimes a 10 or 20 second interval throughout the day is helpful to add to it, just to consciously open the ear. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. This opens the door of our consciousness for the entrance. This is an invitation to God to enter. And sometimes immediately, sometimes slowly, but eventually that spirit does enter. Sometimes before it can enter, it acts in a way to force us to certain changes in our nature. For instance, if we're doing this purely for some selfish motive of gain, we're apt to find eventually that it says the way the Master did, "You sought me only for loaves and fishes. Get on about your business, I'm weary of you." But if we turn there for the purpose that our mind and body be dedicated to spiritual good, to holy purposes, to good purposes, benevolent purposes, artistic purposes, musical, any good, then you will find that it will come quickly, more quickly than otherwise. And in proportion as this spirit takes over, you do reach the goal announced by Paul, "I live, yet not I. Christ liveth my life." In other words, yes, Saroyan said, I notice now that I'm not living my life. Something else is living my life, and I go along for the ride. And you really find that that is, to a great extent, the truth, that you're really watching yourself live, or be lived, and many new ways of living open up to us. My consciousness is the door, which I must open through receptivity to receive grace, to receive that Spirit, that it may begin to function in me, live through me, and dedicate me, consecrate me to its purpose. And then we come to the subject that has, I think I can use the word, worried the world for dozens of centuries, the word prayer. How do you pray? I don't think there's any question in anyone's mind, any thinker's mind, but that prayer is the way to the spiritual influence. But how do you pray? One thing we know for certain, that praying a prayer of petition is a waste of time. Asking God for something is a waste of time. Telling God what we need is a waste of time. Going to God to have God fulfill our material needs is a waste of time. This we know. Centuries have proven the futility of all this sort of prayer. So it is that gradually, as the Spirit enters, it begins to reveal to us the nature of prayer. We know why it says in the Bible that I know not how to pray. I know not what things to pray for. I know not how to go in or how to come out. Let thy Spirit bear witness with my spirit. And then you will probably come to a realization that eventually dawned upon me. And that is this. And it came through a passage that has done a great deal for me in my life. He performeth that which is appointed for me to do. He perfecteth that which concerneth me. I've had great many benefits throughout my years of spiritual life through the realization that He performeth, that is, this Spirit, this divine, this infinity, performs that which is appointed for me to do. But the secret of that passage is this. He doesn't perform that which I would like Him to do. He doesn't perform that which I want done. He performeth that which He appoints for me. Not that my will be done, but that His will be done in me and through me. And therefore, I have no possibility of praying successfully until my prayer is, first of all, that this fourth dimensional will, this divine will, be done in me and through me, and then that I have the wisdom to perceive that will and follow along. Then He performeth that which is given me to do, that which is appointed for me. Then He perfecteth that which concerneth me. The point here that I would bring to your attention is this, that your prayer is not a dedicated prayer until in your prayer you dedicate your work to the source. When you dedicate your work to the source, you will then discover that your work is performed for you and in you and through you, and the fruitage brought right to your doorstep. Now, this prayer is an important word in the experience of every Infinite Way student, because your prayer must be a dedication. Your prayer cannot be a seeking for anything. Your prayer must be your dedication. When you pray, let your prayer be, I am dedicating myself, my mind, my body, to the love of God and the love of my neighbor as myself. I am dedicating my service to serving the least of these, my brethren, if necessary, and the greatest along with the least. In other words, then, in my prayer I must dedicate. In my prayer I must seek the dedication and the consecration of God. And when God dedicates me and consecrates me to his service, I will be a better lawyer, I will be a better businessman, I will be a better banker, I will be a better minister, I will be a better writer, I will be a better sculptor, I will be a better anything. Once the gift of God, the talent of God, is using my mind and body. So prayer really is a form of dedication. Dedication is a form of prayer, but prayer must include dedication. I must dedicate myself to the work that God appointed for me. Now, I've had this experience in my work, a man in the liquor business who came to me and wanted healing of some nature and said, I don't think I'm worthy of it because I'm in the liquor business. And I said, well, let's at least take the benefit of the master and not sit in judgment on you or your business. Let's take you where you are now. He took the woman in adultery. He took the thief on the cross. He didn't ask them to reform first and to be good for a long period and prove themselves. He took them where they were and said, neither do I condemn thee. And so I worked with this man on that basis of, let's not condemn you, let's not condemn your business, let's not condemn anything, but rather forgive anything that may be of an erroneous nature, and let's dedicate ourselves to the will of God. And the result was not only a healing of the physical condition, but a change in occupation that was brought right to his doorstep without seeking it, without giving up anything. It was brought right to his own doorstep. Now, in the same way, we have, there are people in any and every stage of human existence seeking light, seeking a way out, seeking freedom, seeking forgiveness. And I can tell you this, that if you're going to wait to reform them first before giving it to them, they're not going to get it. You have to take them where they are now and forgive them even if they continue in their sins. Forgive them 70 times 7 until, through dedication, even the reddest of sins become white. You see then that what has been binding us in every way in life has been the false concepts that we have entertained. And usually the false concepts of prayer, the false concepts of dedication, consecration, and we have to get back and eliminate our concepts, open our consciousness that we may be instructed from within. And I can assure you, once you begin to be instructed from within, you'll not only be instructed in the spiritual principles of life, but you'll be instructed in the conduct of your business or your art or your profession. You'll be better at any of them than you ever were before, because you'll have that spiritual influence perfecting it. Those of you who will be participating in some spiritual function, whether it's in the infinite way or some other religious function, just remember that your edifice is not dedicated, your books are not dedicated, your furniture is not dedicated, your consciousness is dedicated. And as you maintain that dedication of consciousness, you will find that healing will come out of the walls. Comforting will come out of the very walls. But it really won't be the walls. It'll be your consciousness that permeates the walls. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining and listening to Joel. Like I said, this is a great talk. Like, I was so happy hearing that, because he literally touches every part of it in order for you to come to the honesty of the beingness of you, your withinness. Everything is given, and so he instructs you how to pray, how to look at things, literally with how to look with Christ's vision. So that is beautiful. So thank you so much for joining me today in this. This is quite a study, isn't it? It's like this tape you can ponder for a while and let it instruct you, and follow up with the exercises, in fact, that Joel gives. And so why not use it? It's wonderful. It's great. So thank you so much for your participation today, your presence, and I hope to see you in the next episode of My Kingdom Is Not of This World. We start now with some moment together in music, in light, to let this integrate all together and recognize what a true dedicated consciousness is. So experiment with that. Thank you so much, and bye for now.